I met Kayla on Tuesday for our second session, and this session doesn't have anything to do with really teaching about her form or her stroke. It has to do with getting her ready for her first ever 8-ball match. This is in an in-house league in our pool hall, Jim's place. It's called the Lewis League, and it is operated under BCA rules. And so I'm going over the first step, which is the break with her and how to rack the balls. So Kayla's a beginner. She has played with her family. She's married to Justin Lundstrum, a very good APA level 6 local player out of Brunson, Michigan. And I'm just going over right now how to rack the balls and how to break them. Now, one of the things that many amateur players do wrong is they don't know how to rack the balls. They don't know what the rules are for racking the balls. And I'm just going over this with Kayla right now. In BCA, the 8-ball goes in the center when you're playing 8-ball. It doesn't matter what ball is at the head of the rack, but it does matter which balls are at the corner. So one of each suit, either a stripe or solid, has to be in each of the rear corners at the foot of the table. The rest of the balls are supposed to be put in randomly. So if you see people shuffling balls around and carefully placing them and trying to make every other ball on the outer perimeter a stripe or a solid, that is just not required. It's in fact specifically prohibited under BCA rules, which says the other balls are placed in the triangle without purposeful or intentional pattern. And it is something that doesn't do anything for you. It just takes extra time. So 8-ball in the center and one of each suit on the corners is all you need to worry about. And make sure that rack is tight. You don't want to give a loose rack. Now I'm going over for her that she needs to break behind the head string. She can place the ball anywhere behind the head string, which is from the second diamond to the head of the table. And I'm suggesting to her that she can use any bridge she wants to use, her open bridge, her closed bridge. She can bridge from the rail. And we're going to go ahead and have Kayla break and play against herself. So she will be both players. And what we're trying to do is go over the rules, make sure she understands what a safety or a defensive shot is. And the rules for BCA are a little bit different for those of you familiar with APA rules. In BCA, making the 8-ball in the break is not a win. The breaker can either respot the 8-ball, pull it out and spot it, and continue to shoot, or the breaker can choose to break again. Now Kayla has chosen to put her hand on the rail and break it. That is a pretty solid break. She almost made a ball in the side pocket, but the table is open now because she did not make a ball. But under BCA rules, the table's always open after the break. In other words, if you make a ball on the break, let's say you make a stripe, that does not mean you keep stripes. You still have a choice to shoot a stripe or a solid. And you don't have a suit assigned to you until you call a pocket and make the ball. Yes, you have to call the pocket in BCA. So you're calling the pocket, you're calling the ball. Any way that ball goes in the pocket makes it a legal shot. If you, let's say you made both a stripe and a solid, it's still open after that. In this case, she didn't make any balls, so she gets to choose which suit she wants to shoot from here. And I'm going over some possibilities here. Partly what I'm talking about is the fact that she has to hit a ball and then have a ball go to the rail afterwards. That would make it a legal defensive shot. If she does not hit a ball and have a ball to go to the rail afterwards, then that is a foul, and it's a ball in hand foul, so her opponent would get ball in hand. Now, it so happens that because the table's open after the break, any ball she hits is okay. She could, let's say, shoot into that stripe in the middle of the table and have it go to the rail, or she could just glance across it and have the cue ball go to the rail, or the cue ball could bump into a third ball and it could go to the rail, or the object ball she's shooting at could hit another ball. Any ball that goes to the rail afterwards after the contact makes it a legal shot. So here she's choosing to shoot a combination. She's shooting the 15 into the 10. This is the easiest shot on the table right now. And there she goes. She made it, and she rolled up a little bit close to the 11 ball, I guess that is, not the 15 ball. So we're discussing this, and she's going to go ahead and take a shot at the 14 ball now because it would be too difficult for her to get any position. Now we're talking about every shot here in between because we're trying to get some concepts across of how you go about playing this game. One of the things that is a hallmark of a beginning player in APA 3 and lower is that they walk up to the table in most cases and just look for whatever ball they can make and shoot it. And that's a really bad idea, and it's not a good way to win, and it's not a good way to move up in skill level because this is a very complex game. It is not just about pocketing balls, especially at the lower skill levels in amateur play. It is about winning the game, and it means what position can you put yourself in to either improve the situation for yourself or make it difficult for your opponent. And that's what we're talking about right now. So she's going to go ahead and shoot at this 14 ball right now. And it is not an easy shot. Pocketing the 11 ball on the side would be easier, but she's just going to fly her cue ball all over the place and she doesn't know where it's going to go. So the shot at the 14 ball allows her to control that cue ball a lot better. Let's see whether she makes it or not. So here she goes. She's asking for some detail, and I'm stepping right up in front of the camera. Like I said earlier in my disclaimer in this video, this is a low-rent production, no frills, and I got in the way, but she did make that ball, and the cue ball came back quite a ways. She hit it a little harder than she would like to, but now we're talking over her next shot. So she's made a shot, and now she only really has one ball to shoot at, and that's the 11 ball that's over there in the side. But see, by choosing not to shoot the easiest ball first, she made a more difficult ball, and now she still gets to shoot that easy ball. And so many lower handicap players choose to shoot the easiest ball on the table when they do have another shot, and they only get one ball in because maybe they don't get a shot after they shoot that easy ball. But if you leave the easy ball, it'll still be there in most cases. So you still get to shoot it in. Always look around, and your choice isn't what is the easiest ball for me to make. The choice is what is a ball that I can make, that makes sense for me to make, and that will also give me another shot afterwards. So again, she's shooting pretty hard, which is really on the good side. We tend a lot of times with the lower handicap players to have them start out being very timid and shooting too soft, but she's shooting a little too hard, which is a great starting point. What typically happens in the development of a player is they start off timid and shooting too soft most of the time, and then by the time they're in APA a high 4 or an APA 5, they start to be more aggressive and they begin shooting the balls too hard. And that's a hallmark of most APA 5s are shooting the ball too hard and sending it all over the table without being sure where that cue ball is going to end up. And that progression from a 5 to a 6 or a 7 really relates mainly not to shot making. By that time, people are pretty good shot makers. It relates to how well the cue ball is controlled. So we spent quite a bit of time talking here, but really I think I'm giving her information about what a safety is and how she has to contact a ball, because right now she does not have direct contact on a ball. So I gave her a location on the rail to kick the cue ball towards the 9 ball and see if she can hit it. If she can hit that 9 ball and then get a ball to go to the rail, she's a lot better off than if she misses it. Because if she misses it, she goes ball in hand. Now she hit the 9 ball, and the cue ball actually came to what looks like a pretty fortuitous position for her. It doesn't look like there's a good shot. Now she's switching over now. Kayla 1 just ran 2 balls and then played a safety, and Kayla 2 is now playing. So this is a beginning player playing against a beginning player, and we're talking about how she's going to get out of this new situation that she's in. So she's getting ready to take a shot. Looks like she's shooting at the 2 ball. I think she's going to play a safety here. And she's just bumping the 2 ball forward, and the cue ball is left down at this end of the table. I don't think the 9 ball is makeable, so she's left a very tough shot for her opponent, which is herself. She's going back to Kayla 1 now. And I'm just explaining different ways that she could have hid the cue ball. We need to get these APA 3 and lower handicap players thinking every time they walk to the table. They have to think about what shot do I want to make, but also gauging the difficulty of that shot and deciding whether they need to make a ball or not. And that's one hard hill to get over, because everybody wants to make a ball every time they walk to the table, and you don't win pool games, especially at the lower handicap levels, by just making balls. You have to play smart. Every time you walk up to the table, you need to ask yourself, can I make a ball? Should I make a ball? Am I better off not making a ball but moving it closer to a pocket so that I can get it the next time around while leaving my opponent a poor shot? Do I want to make a ball, even if it's a high probability shot, and then in case I miss, leave my opponent with an easy shot, say on the 8 ball, or to get out if they're a better player? All these things should be going through your head every single time you walk to the table. And what happens is people get tunnel vision. They see a shot they can make and they just take it without thinking about the consequences, and then they go, now what? Now Kayla is taking a shot here. She strikes the stripe, leaves the cue ball in the middle of the table. I'm not quite sure here what we were trying to accomplish, but she's going to move on now, and she will have solids next. We'll be talking over this next shot now, and as with every single shot, we will look at the table and figure out whether we can make a ball, how hard it's going to be to make it, whether or not we should make it, or whether we should be thinking more about making it difficult for our opponent. And we are going back and forth and having a discussion here, but what I want to teach is to have Kayla having this discussion with herself every time. What am I going to shoot? How am I going to shoot it? What's my opponent going to do if I miss? How can I leave my opponent so that they don't have a good shot if I can't make a shot? And so all this stuff is a conversation that we should have with ourselves every single time we walk to the table. Now she's lining up on the 4 ball here, and I don't remember whether we were playing a safe or trying to make the shot. I think she was trying to make that shot, but she just overcut it a little bit. One of the issues that people need to come to grips with is, and this is especially true when you give a lower handicap player a timeout and you tell them something like, well, don't shoot that ball in or don't shoot this ball in, that can all change immediately after the shot is made. So you have to be constantly refiguring your strategy, refiguring your tactics every single time you come to the table. Kayla faces a problem here, and that is that she has to bridge over another ball. She only has one viable ball to shoot, and that's the 11 ball. And she's going to need to raise her bridge. Now, we have not talked about her bridge yet. We've been working on the earliest stage of her shot preparation, which was getting her alignment. And we haven't yet discussed the bridge. So I'm telling her some basics about the bridge here, and we're shaping her hand with an open bridge. And then we will go into how she can raise her fingers up and be able to shoot over another ball. But first, we're just trying to get her to hold her hand tight down against the table, make sure her palm's on the table, make sure all of her available fingers are on the table, to crook her thumb up a little bit and make an open bridge, and then stroke the ball. And now she has to take her fingers and close her hand a little bit in order to raise things up. Now, it turns out that Kayla was a ballet dancer, grew up ballet dancing, and she knows about this business. I forget what you call it, but where the ballet dancers stand up on their toes. And we discussed that and how she needs to kind of stand up on the tips of her fingers to get over this ball. And here she's starting to do it, but we're going to reconfigure it a little bit. And we're going to get her in alignment because she's so busy thinking about her hand placement that she was completely out of line there. And look how far she had to move over in order to get in the line. And this happens a lot. You get tunnel vision on doing one aspect of your shot preparation and you forget to do another aspect. This comes up in the higher levels when somebody knows that they have to make the ball and knows that they have to get position. And a lot of times they get so wrapped up in the position that they forget to make the ball, they forget to even aim the ball. So in this case, Kayla's so busy trying to figure out this bridge situation that she didn't get her alignment at all, and we will have to readjust her quite a bit. Here she goes with the shot. And right now, I make a better door than a window. We can't see whether she made the shot or not, but she gets a fist bump, so she did make the shot. And now we have to go right on to thinking about what's that next shot going to be. It appears as if we're going to try to strike a ball at the end of the table there, but she's going to have to reach quite a ways. She's not a very tall person, neither am I, so I often do what I'm showing her right now, which is I don't want to distort my body to reach all the way out into the table, so I get out the bridge, but I'm going to show her how to stroke it as I normally would. So I'm not doing the kind of shot where you change your stroke when you use the bridge, but in fact, just use it so you don't have to reach as far. And then we're going to put her arm and hand in a position where she can stroke the ball as she normally would. But instead of using her hand as a bridge, she's going to use the mechanical bridge. And so what we'd like to see here is her position her body so that as she holds the stick, her lower arm is going to be straight up and down, and it's creating a pendulum, and her lower arm is the string. So right now she's a little too far forward with her lower arm, but we would like her to hold the stick back a little further so she's dropping it straight down. She makes that shot. I believe it was a safety shot we were doing. And of course, we move on to the next shot and we ask ourselves, can I make a ball? How hard is it going to be to make it? Am I better off making it, or am I better off trying to leave my opponent with a poor shot? I don't think that Kayla had a clear shot here, and I think we talked over doing a safety where she tries to leave that cue ball down in the corner. And she shot a little bit hard, but she succeeded in getting it down in the corner, but we would have liked to not have the straight shot on the stripe that came up. It's so important to realize that if you're playing at an APA 3 level, let's say, or you're a beginner like Kayla, most of your shots, more of your shots should be safety shots than shots to try and make a ball. And yet, 9 out of 10 times, almost 10 out of 10 times, that low handicap player is trying to make some kind of a dramatic, difficult shot or something, instead of just trying to figure out how to leave her opponent. So as you can see, that tactic did work. Even though she left a shot, it was a difficult shot, and her opponent did not make the shot. Now we're beginning a close conversation about what the situation is with that 2 ball, because Kayla's first instinct was to shoot the 7 ball into the 2 and pocket it. But I'm showing her that in order to make that 2 ball, you would have to cut the ball to a very thin level. So a lot of players look at this and they go, oh, it's right next to the pocket, so it should be easy. No, it's not. It's very difficult. It would be much easier for her, I point out, to make the 7 ball to the left of the 2 ball rather than trying to make the 2 ball, because there's room for it to get in there, and she can even hit the rail first and make it into that pocket. but it would be almost impossible for her to hit the 7 ball and pocket the 2. It would be a once in 30 shots maybe, because it is pressed right up against the point of that pocket. But in addition to having the possibility of the 7 ball, she has this 4 ball down in the pocket, and that's the one she felt most comfortable shooting, so she made a try for that ball, and boy, she made it. She cut it right in very nicely, and she got way down the table. I'm not sure if she could get at the 2 ball here or not, but again, we're back to what happens on every single shot. Can I make a ball? If I can, should I make a ball? And it looks like the decision here is yes. She's going to try and make that 7 ball. And then we're talking about, where does the cue ball go after she makes the 7? Is she going to shoot it in such a way that she goes, now what afterwards? Or is she going to end up in some kind of position? And I think she can do one of two things. The cue ball may, if she overcuts it slightly, run into the 5 ball and open it up, or she might have a shot at the 1 ball after this. So now she's getting ready to shoot this 7 ball. We're talking a little bit more about where the cue ball will end up if she makes it. She shoots the shot. She hits that ball too full, and it didn't go where we talked about it going because she didn't make it, and this is something to realize. The cue ball is only going to go to the particular spot if you hit the object ball in a certain way. If you hit it too full, it'll roll forward more, and if you hit it too thin, it'll tend to roll off to the side more. And that's a new thing that she's learning here, is how to watch that cue ball and how it comes off the object ball and where it's going to go depending on how she hits it. Now her opponent comes to the table, and we're talking about what happens next. We can't see very well because I'm in the way of the camera. Now let's see what the decision was. Looks like she's going to shoot at that 15 ball. And the discussion we had there was, why mess with the 9 ball? Because it's in the way of the opponent's 5 ball. So why not try to get these balls open a little bit more? And that's exactly what she did. Now she's going to leave a shot on the 2 ball, but from the situation that she was in, she was actually trying to make that stripe, and she was pretty far off. But we're going to work on her stroke and her alignment and get that a little bit better. But the point is that she was best off to move those 2 balls and not to move the 9 ball. A more advanced player might have wanted to move the 9 ball then, but if you can't run out, you shouldn't be exposing your opponent's balls like that. Right now, that 9 ball is protecting her pocket from the opponent making the 5 ball, so leave it there. If you can't run out the balls, don't try to run them out. Don't try to be heroic. It's probably not going to work for you. We're taking some time here to show Kayla how to use the bridge here in the standard way you would use the bridge, rather than just using it to replace your bridge hand. Now, we're putting her arm in a position where it's parallel to the floor so she can do a nice smooth stroke with it and not be poking at it like a lot of new players to the game do. They just want to hold that stick and kind of poke at the ball. We're trying to get her to stroke towards the ball and really take her time positioning that bridge and getting everything right in line so that she can properly stroke the ball. See how she wants to take her hand and put it in a pokey position? And we want her to get her arm up and parallel and have her smoothly stroke through the ball. She does, and she makes it. She would have benefited from hitting it a little bit harder, but boy, speed control is really tough when you're thinking about all these other things. Now we're scooting through a long discussion about a variety of things, but I can be almost certain that I'm asking her, can you make a ball? Should you make a ball? How's it going to leave you? How's it going to leave your opponent? What's the best thing to do here? And the best thing to do is not to walk up and shoot the easiest shot necessarily. In this case, she has a viable shot at the 7 ball, She doesn't want to open up that 5 ball yet because her 3 ball is still down there. It's kind of positioned in a place that would be difficult for her to get at. So she also has 2 other balls, the 6 and 1 at the foot of the table, that are a problem. So she's just going to try and make this ball. And she misses it, and she misses it pretty badly, but that's going to happen. It happens to every beginning player. She's so busy. She has a long shot to make, and we're busy talking about how to go about lining up that shot, and she missed it by quite a bit, but she did hit it, and so her cue ball is safe. The question is, did she leave her opponent a shot? She broke that 9 ball out. But I think this shot is probably a scratch shot if she goes to the upper right pocket. So I think I'm advising her to back cut it here to the upper left pocket. And it looks like that's what she's doing. It's a very difficult shot, but it's worth trying because that's the only ball she can really shoot at anyway. She shoots it, she gets her cue ball up table, misses the shot, and we begin to discuss the next shot. But as we're doing it, my sister, who's general manager at Jim's place, hours over to us and says it's time for Kayla to start her shift. So that kind of ends our little practice session here. And we didn't even get through a rack. But the point is that we got a lot of concepts discussed during this time period. And I think Kayla's ready to start up and do her first match of her pool shooting career.